Welcome to another Sassoy spikeboarding tutorial demonstration. Here we are on the University of Vermont campus, UVM, and we're pulling out from close to Main Street, and we're going to start heading uphill with our skateboard spike and our Sassoy spikeboard optimized for spikeboarding. We're going to be executing 2 strokes. That one's called stand-up spike. Whenever our feet engage, as is the case at that moment there. That's called a kubi cross. It's bilateral. We're basically simplified Nordic roller skiing, and we're going to head out to the recreational path right beside the university, and then come back in the suburbs right next door. So we've been out on these paths before, and we've run into the UVM cross-country ski team. They use these same routes for their roller skiing, and we've also run into a couple of juniors that are out there. So roller skiing is very much popularized here in this local area, and of course wherever you're going to roller ski, you can spikeboard the bejeebers out of it. So we're cruising through here on campus. We're going to saddle right up next to the gymnasium and slip into this rec path. And folks, we welcome you to begin spikeboarding. If you live on campus, if you're a young person going to UVM, we encourage you to investigate the sport of balanced strength and stand-up spike core out your door. It will cross-train the daylights out of you, plus you'll have a blast. This video is going to show a little bit of how fun this sport can be. You're watching an athlete that's been in the sport for 8 years, and an athlete that also roller skis and races USA Cycling, as well as inline skates on ice, inline skates on land, and short track skates on ice, on short track and long track. We're looking at an endurance athlete that speaks a variety of transport, sport, physical literacies. Here we are. There's the gym and soccer pitch, field pitch here, lacrosse pitch, field hockey pitch over to the athlete's left, and a sensational recreation path for inline skate, roller ski, and of course, wherever those two live, spikeboarding will not be too far away. That was a little one-footed turn. Those are advanced. We're going to come down here. We're going to implement a little bit of a cadence break. We've got a 90-degree turn situation, so we're going to have to feather off some of this speed. Spikeboarding is ambipedal. Sport is symmetrical to both sides of the board. And notice how the athlete is switching with simplicity and ease that's acquired by technical stroke development. So no one's going to swim butterfly and look very good on day one. But with time and training, everybody pole vaults, everybody swings a golf club, and everybody swims butterfly mighty nice. Everybody worldwide. Well, these aren't interpretations of acrobatic movements. Folks, this is human propulsion. Obviously, this athlete's going forward, so he's engaging some kind of human propulsion. Well, if you study human behavior, you'll understand that when things are new, sometimes people imagine that they are impossible or extremely challenging. Well, I'm here to tell you that spikeboarding is easier than pole vaulting, golfing, or C-cut skating backwards, and hockey skating or figure skating. These things are incredibly challenging. You might be also looking at something far less challenging than butterfly swimming or even backstroke swimming. And it's a blast, guys. Really, 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 really fun. We're pushing on the bike just a little bit, taking a little bit of a break. Don't know these paths all that well, but they're certainly spikeable, straight on down, skatable. This is the part of spikeboarding that is most related to skateboarding, actually, the downhill. Spikeboarding is, of course, a form of skateboarding. Spikeboarding, of course, is a form of cross-country skiing. It's a blend of the two seamlessly, very much like skate ski is a blend of skating and skiing. That's why they call it skate skiing. And I can't tell you how fun this path is. It's very nice. Of course, we're coming off the high side here, and we are exploiting all of the delights of taking a sled ride really nicely. And of course, at certain speeds, above 18 miles an hour, it's going to be very difficult to kick. Notice how we stayed in a stand-up spike situation until such time as the speed reduced. You can only turn your legs over so quickly, and then you cannot kick any longer, which is exactly like cross-country skiing. At some point, the double pole is going to take over because your arm cadence can perform a kick. Actually, it doesn't outperform it so much as it's the only thing possible. There's no way that you can kick on skis above a certain speed, and in spikeboarding, after close to about 18 miles an hour, 19, there's no more ability to turn all of that hunk of leg over and get any efficacy out of it. So you've got another about 4, 5, 6 miles an hour, but you can stand up spike until, of course, then you go into a tuck. And of course, this sport is going to blow wide open as soon as we make a disc brake for this board. And folks, it's on the way. It's closer than you might think, and it's being dreamt of as I narrate this video by people closer to you than you might imagine. But spikeboarding is a sensational sport. If you cross-country ski, it is fantastic. Active rest on your easy days. It's fantastic. Cool down. Well, if you go out and ski hard, go out and spikeboard for a half hour, your body's going to thank you. If you play lacrosse, if you wrestle, if you play hockey, my friends who play hockey, you like to have fun, don't you? Yeah, you do. That's why you play hockey, because hockey is fun with capital F. But we know what's really fun in hockey? Winning the game. So who wins the game? Those with mighty fine puck skills, of course. And who beats them? Them with mighty fine puck skills that got stronger than you. So strength and conditioning is of the utmost importance. Stick skill will only get you so far, which is pretty darn far. Because these days you can just tippy-tap, toe, skate right in, and bink, put it right into the goal. And that's proven by the fact there's very little slap shot left. And we know that highly skilled ball handlers in basketball are going to win games. And who's going to beat them? Well, people who have higher strength and conditioning. Higher strength and conditioning is all about functional strength. We've come to understand that. Functionally moving and applying strength and coordination at the same time. The Nordic skiers know this really well because cross-country skiing is a sport of gods. It activates everything. You're hauling ass, you're balancing, and they do it at 20 degrees or less. So try that. Get a little bit of the flu in the middle of your season, see what happens. So fundamentally, these are the best strength and conditioning athletes in the theater sport. But of course, then you've got roller skiing. Roller skiing is challenging. Let's just leave it at that. Very challenging. And spikeboarding is a lot less challenging. Of course, you can't cross your tips. You can't get your legs all hung up. You have one shaft, and you have an ability to control speed to a far greater degree. Also, the terrain that you can cover is much more varied. The wheels will accept a far wider latitude of turbulence. Bingo! Off we go the recreational path and into the suburbs we go. Spikeboarding is simplified cross-country skiing. and it will become fantastic cross training for field sports. You're looking at a 55-year-old human being. And of course, that switch kick lower body action begins, folks, at age 2 on a scooter. And what might you think that switch kicking action will do and facilitate for soccer? Well, it might just increase double-footedness in soccer, mightn't it? It might. It just might. We don't play soccer, so we don't know. But I invite you to try to imagine which is the dominant leg of this athlete. Is it left or is it right? Had you seen this athlete in 2010, you would have known immediately. That's when they started practicing the sport, 2010. And of course, when you dedicate to technical stroke development, you're going to polish up and you're going to begin to execute it very well. So it's funny how certain athletes have looked at this, elite athletes. We won't go through the list of them. But there's been a lot of big athletes and smaller time athletes who've looked at it, incredibly good athletes, and marveled and said, oh my goodness, you make that look so easy. Well, what's funny is what they were doing, they made it look easy. So how on earth did they ever forget what beginning physical literacy was like in their chosen activities? But people do, they forget. And even the best athletes become intimidated by challenging themselves to learn new physical literacies. This athlete began this sport at age 46. So when he began, he couldn't go up the tiniest little lump. Nothing. Tiniest little mound. Unavailable. Could not access. No core. No lats. No upper body. Nothing. Of course, with slow adaptation, the body adapts to the load. Neurology adapts to the load. We're adapting the body to loads during endurance, strength and conditioning. And unlike cycling, this sport can pipeline all manner of strength and conditioning for field sports. If you're a coach and you're watching this, worry not that you're going to lose your athletes into the world of spikeboarding. There is no World Cup spikeboard racing. Spikeboarding is very small, and it's a very handy thing to have. How many people drive to the gym? There's a paid subscription gym, 5, 6, 7 of them in major American cities. And people drive themselves to this gym. They put themselves in a box, and then they move around. When all they need to do is learn a few transport sports and just exercise outside of their home where there's a shower and a warm place or a cool place, however the case may be, right out the front of their door. But of course they can't do this if they don't learn it. So the idea is to make the planet proud, guys, because we have a situation and everybody knows it. So physical literacy, what's of most interest, of course, when you want to create some progressive change, is make a nice design and teach it to young people. Spikeboarding is going to help you win football games, coach. It's going to help you win hockey games. It's going to help your players develop core. It's going to develop stamina. It can do what cycling never could deliver. Cycling develops massive amounts of endurance, and all the field sports, none of them really need it. They don't need that much endurance. But they sure could use all the athletes cross-training as skiers. And you're looking at skiing, using the entire body to glide across the face of the earth, using your entire body. That's skiing. Skiing, of course, is downhill skiing, but that's a millisecond of historic time in skiing. Skiing's thousands of years old, without a chairlift, without steel edges, without alpine skiing. Skiing has been for 6,000 years, gliding across the Earth's surface and using your entire body. I believe that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing a human being glide across the surface, propel themselves forward by use of their upper and lower body coordinated in synchronized kinetic action. In this case, they're using a skateboard spike, and the spike itself is using a carbide steel spike tip that roller skiers use, the same exact one. So that skateboard spike lives in the family of the ski pole, also lives in the family of the hockey stick and the tennis racket, the baseball bat. It needs to be sticky, it needs to have a grip. It's going to be used by both hands, one hand, and if my eyes serve me well, it seems to be working rather nicely. That upper body from cross-country skiing connected to that lower body functions very well. The Kubi cross stroke that you're seeing will be the highest performing physical literacy to propel a board up a hill that will ever be. Unless we grow a third arm, a third leg, that's what we've got. So we're pulling up here now, getting close to the university. That will finish out our loop. And folks, spikeboarding is a delicious activity. It's quick, it's fast, it's accessible, it's inexpensive, it's right out your door. You can learn just stand-up spike and be a stand-up spike athlete. Never take your feet off the deck. You can learn spikeboarding. You can learn all three strokes of spikeboarding. Primarily, we use two: a Kubi cross, stand-up spike that you've been seeing in this video. The stroke that you're not seeing is the inside Kubi cross. Do a little research in our videos and you'll discover it. So spikeboarding, of course, can be practiced or implemented in street clothes. You can use it for commuting. It's very accessible. Whenever you can access a board, wherever you can access a board, you can access spikeboarding. Spikeboarding is a set of movements along with a skateboard spike. So it's very much like swimming. Look up butterfly swimming. It was innovated in 1935. Did not exist in the 1926 Olympics. And of course, that was just a simple set of upper body and lower body movements coordinated to produce a beautiful way to swim. We all know it now. And of course, it gives rise to the individual medley that people swim. Good swimmers swim, who swim all four strokes. So the Sasoi skateboard spike really allows for stand-up spike. You could be doing this with a ski pole, I suppose. You could go ahead and try it. There's a few things you'd be missing, but still, you could do it. But then how would you stand up spike? You'd be challenged to do that. This was a nice long climb, going back to the top of the high side of this loop. It's a nice sweet burn. And of course, we'd do this loop maybe 2, maybe 3 times. And we'd be done with about a 90-minute workout, which is always nice. If you want to just do 1 lap, that's okay. 2 laps would probably be about an hour, and you'd enjoy it. There's also a bunch of suburbs further out. We didn't know the route. Find your local skiers; they'll know it, and they can take you around to see them. But this loop is really, really nice, and Burlington is a fantastic place to spikeboard, and we enjoy it quite a bit. So, folks. Spike hard, spike often, spike boarding, and we will see you at the next one.